Hey Youssef, welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you on. We are just talking before things started rolling about how we first met at in Jersey City at a rooftop networking event. That was my first event that I hosted, and I was glad that you made it there. You were a good spirit, good entrepreneurial vibes. So good to see you again.
Yeah, great to see you, and thanks for hosting that event. It was awesome. I thought the view was pretty ridiculous of Jersey City and New York. It was nice. So hopefully
Yeah,
you're hosting more events and they're even bigger this time.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, definitely we've got some events coming up that I'll make sure to put out there. Yeah, so of course you're working on a startup idea. Um, I saw from your LinkedIn it's still in stealth mode, so hopefully we can talk about some of the details there. But before we get into that, are you from the Jersey City area or New York area, or how'd you end up in this area to begin with? And then how'd you get into the startup space? I know you're in data science too, so if you want to talk about that.
Sure, yeah. So born and raised in North Jersey. I'm biased. I think North Jersey is probably the best place on earth. So I'm happy to be from North Jersey. And I ended up moving out to Colorado to get my operations research degree and actually was an Air Force officer for the last couple of years. And I was doing machine learning for national security purposes. Honestly, it was really a great experience, and I got in touch with the bureaucratic side of things. And so when I ended up looking at a startup, the next logical step was to get into the second most bureaucratic thing, which is the health space. So we are building within the health space, and we're hoping to have an impact on patients. There's a very personal touch in there for me and what we're doing, and that's because of things that I saw when I was growing up.
Yeah, and so you've dived into a lot of data in the the government space. Have you? I mean, what do you see? Of course, is that what people always say? The government's inefficient. What do you? Having looked at the data, what do you think? Is it inefficient? Are there certain things that leap out to you?
I feel like I have to be careful what I say here.
Yeah, no, yeah,
So
yeah. Don't worry about yeah. If there's something you can't say, then
no, no,
no
no,
problem.
I'm joking. I think the truth is most people know the government is not the easiest to move forward, right? But the people within the government, they're passionate about the technological innovations. It's really the system and the layers that exist of how many people need to be on the same page and on board, and then the years of process that you have to overcome. Those are what slow things down. But I mean, we're seeing a massive emergence of AI innovation within the government. I think the government is ready for that to happen.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's a good point. I mean, you can say okay, certain companies are more efficient, but the government's so much bigger than all those companies, so it's a whole other problem. Of scale that that private companies don't have to deal with. And then of course there's all the politics involved and everything. So it's a much tougher job in some sense. So I get that. So you saw all these problems as you're working for the government. You're in the military, and so that's what inspired you to start this next venture that you're working on. Is that how it worked?
So I actually had an amazing experience when I was in the military. I basically was building startups ever since the day I graduated my master's program because they were just sending me all over the world to build products alongside some of our units that are out there that are supporting missions out in Europe or Hawaii, and so it was. It was always going from 0 to 1 or 0 to 10 or 0 to 100. We've even taken a product from 0 to 10,000. And so it was just a logical next step to continue this kind of entrepreneur mindset of like solving problems. And for health in particular, I think everybody needs to have a motivation behind what they're doing, right? Like a why, right? I mean, when you look at people in the military, if they're going out into combat, it's probably not the $200 in combat pay that they're getting a month, right? There's like a bigger why there. So for me, it was my family. It was seeing some of what we struggled with within the health space, whether that's surprise medical bills, whether that's dealing with Medicare, Medicaid, or not knowing if we're going to be on it the next year. And so a lot of that kind of made it very clear what the next path was.
Right. Yeah, no, it's I mean that's one of the big parts for any successful company is having that domain knowledge. So if you have that technical skill and the domain knowledge, then that's you're well prepared to build a product out. So yeah, why don't you tell us more about what this new startup that you're working on? What are the main problems that you're focusing on? Like, what are the main pain points that you think will give a high ROI for you guys and for your
Yeah.
customers?
Well, hopefully the main thing we'll see is improvement within patient care, right? So we're trying to take away the administrative burden on a lot of providers so that way they could do what they signed up to do, right? They didn't go in there to answer phone calls. They went in there to help patients feel better or heal faster. And so a lot of what we're doing is what you see today, somebody answering the phone, writing things down, data entry, calling up maybe insurance, calling up to figure out, why somebody didn't show up, and all of that's just draining the practice. It's just draining it, right? And so those are our areas of focus, and we're particularly interested in one of the sleepiest areas in there when it comes to insurance.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I'm also sort of in a similar area in the dental space. I'm trying to cut down on that admin work through the use of agents. And there was a dentist that I was trying to onboard in, but he was so busy with all of his admin work and all his well-on staff that he doesn't have time to meet with me. So it's hard to even get the solutions in there in the first place. And so that you can create those, create more efficiency for in your case maybe doctors or hospitals. In my case, dentists, which are also doctors, of course. And yeah, so it's tough to really get in there. Have you found that there's a good way to um, bring your product to have doctors or dentists or hospitals try it out?
That is the million-dollar question for everybody, I think, right? So I'm actually curious to hear how it's been for you, because I know we're actually in a very similar space,
Yeah,
which is awesome because I do think that this space needs multiple players, right? And I'm the type to look at that and say, hey, this is how we collaborate and this is how we create something that has the impact that we need to have. There's so many dental clinics, there's so many providers. Right. So I'm interested to hear, with these pilots you're onboarding, right? Are you finding that there's a particular way that you show the value?
yeah. No, I found that I mean, one, if you can have like a demo that is kind of like encapsulates some kind of value that would very readily present itself to the customer. So if it's some pain point they deal with every day and they see some very brief demo that shows that pain point being solved, then that goes a long way. And then also uh, Facebook groups I've found have been incredible. So just groups, any groups online. I mean, I know this is one that I heard a suggestion I heard for years, and I thought, okay, yeah, that's an idea I can try sometime. But until I actually tried it, I didn't realize there's a ton of value here. I mean, there's the people that are engaged in these groups. They're people that are willing to give their advice and be more engaged with if you're launching a product to solve their problems. So that's one good way to find I've found for dentists. So it may
Yeah.
work for doctors or whatever. Are you targeting individual practices, you think, or more like bigger like administrative places like hospitals?
Yeah. So, well, first let me make a point on what you just said, because Brendan, I
Sure.
think that is the Facebook groups, right? LinkedIn. Here's another one for you. Reddit. Reddit is actually
Yeah.
surprisingly a mine, just an entire treasure
Yeah.
of information. And so Reddit's also another good one for us. The reason why you probably attracted to the dental space is because they're really all entrepreneurs, and they're motivated not by just improving, their patients' care, but they're also motivated by revenue. And there's a lot of different things that play in the dental space, like the fact that most of them own their own practices, the fact that for them insurance isn't the same, or the insurance kind of rules, as you would say, aren't the same as it is for providers, right? And they've got to earn their money, basically, right? And so they're willing to go out of their way to innovate so that they could earn their money, right? So are we targeting single practices, multiple practices? I think right now our sweet spot is with, you know, 3 to 5 up to maybe 20 or 30 practices, because those are the folks that we're seeing that don't want to completely outsource their all of their, administrative tasks. A lot of people outsource, their billing or other portions. And these offices we're seeing want to continue to do things in-house, but they just want to do less. And
Right.
so helping them do less is really the solution that we are providing.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. So you're kind of targeting this segment where it's big enough. You have a few doctors, a few providers. It's big enough where they have a lot of administrative overhead, but not big enough where they've gone like the more where they purchased some big software package and have already, adopted all the different tools and stuff. So that makes sense to me. And so is there a certain pain point in particular that you're starting off with and then going out from there? Or are you still evaluating? Do you feel like you need to get into the data first and see, like, for each practice what their issue is and then go from there?
Yeah. So I probably would, again, I think I'd love to hear your take on it, right? But for us, it's a customer first approach. And so we have a value proposition that we know resonates with customers. And we are trying to work with them to see if when solving their pain point, that actually is a business model that is scalable. So we've validated the pain point. We know it exists. We know that these are tasks they want to offload, they want help with. That doesn't necessarily mean it's a good business model, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean it's scalable to every person. In the dental world, a lot of them use different PMSs. And so we're
Mm.
starting off with like one or two, and we're saying, hey, if you have these in your system, then we'll work with you. But we're also at a point where we're still trying to measure the efficacy of our pilots and determine whether the value we're providing is worth a a monthly payment that can actually scale the business. I'm curious to know if that's something you're seeing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, as far as like to see what problems are worth solving, what would provide them a lot of value. I mean, again, like, not to go on a loop here, but I went back to the Facebook groups and I I what I did was I read through like maybe the past 3 months of posts on, say, like you said, there's different practice management systems on the Facebook group for Open Dental. That's one of the practice management systems that practice management system for the audience, those that might not know. It's like just the system that the dentist uses to run their entire practice. And yeah, I basically saw, okay, people are posting problems about these 5 categories of issues, like communicating with insurance, maybe I don't know, following up with patients, etc. And and then so I just posted, okay, which of these categories are you guys spending the most time on? And then a lot of people were saying, oh, just communicating with the insurance company. So I kind of dug deeper into that, asked people why they were spending so much time with the insurance company, and individually, I messaged them directly and individually, separately of each other. They were saying, "Oh, we have to spend like 3 hours a day just calling the insurance company." So that's how I kind of zeroed in on that problem. Because I mean, any issue that people are spending a lot of time on, that could be, a lot of money saved if that can be automated. So that was my approach that I've taken, and I think that's, kind of a repeatable approach. You could try that for anything. So um, that's what I would that's definitely something worth looking into.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, and so tell me about some of like the um, industry players. I mean, so you come from the data science perspective. And I guess, are you working with a lot of tools up front that you have to work with third-party vendors, or are you mostly focusing on the customers right now? Who are the parties involved in your startup process so far? And like, tell me more about them.
hmm So, I mean, I think the golden light for us is always the customer, right? So we are definitely spending a lot of time focusing on them. And then on a technology perspective, we're responsible for integration. And so there's a big piece of just figuring out how things like Dentrix Ascend or Denicon work, right? And what it takes to integrate with them. And then outside of that, our technology stack, I mean, you've got different things like what's your cloud infrastructure look like? What's your HIPAA compliance look like? What are the text to speech, speech to text models that you're bringing into your tech stack? And then you of course you're always going to rely on a large language model. And so which one are you going to use, and how are you going to define the context, the prompt, the fine tuning, the vector database, if there's proprietary data that you're providing it to improve on some of its responses. So those are all some of the things we think about from the technology side. And then, as you know, with running a business, you've got everything from accounting to your legal team, and then you've got sales, and you've got your hiring, and so you're interacting with several different parties.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. That's absolutely true. And if you're getting into the health space for the first time, it can be tough to even think about on top of everything else. You have to be HIPAA compliant. And then we're dealing with the artificial intelligence, which is a new territory. And how do we even know? Is it if can we make this stuff HIPAA compliant? And then so that's a whole other variable that you have in your head. You're wondering, oh, will this idea work or not? Can I even make it HIPAA compliant? But fortunately though, there are ways once you get into it uh to ensure HIPAA compliance. It doesn't have to be like I have to audit if I use OpenAI's large language model. It doesn't have to be like I audit every part of their model because of course you can't do that. But they have a program that you can talk to them and they because they want people in the medical space to use their large language models, and so they have kind of a pathway set up so that you can make that happen. So it ends up being yeah, the advice that you get from the people and the help you get from other people that are also trying to build their own business is invaluable. So it's good that OpenAI makes like a or any of these companies makes it easy for people in the health space to be HIPAA compliant.
Yeah.
Um, and and another thing as far as like people that are helping you out, I mean, it's I've found definitely invaluable to have a mentor. Is there anyone that you look to for mentorship or so anyone that just gives you advice, guides you along the way?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody is in one way or another looking at either their peers or somebody as a mentor, and I do believe in like purposeful and deliberate mentorship. And so in for most startups that looks like a board of advisors, right? And so you've got your advisors, they'll come in different capacities. And for us, we've got mentors that have been doing the technology for health and have sold to hospitals and bigger systems, and are letting us know and understand what their journey looked like. And then we've got mentors that are just business experts, right? Like they could sell you anything, and they'll help you with just becoming an expert communicator. That's really what sales is. And at the end of the day, nobody actually ends up buying a product strictly for its value. They buy it because they believe in the message that you're also sending them, right? And so you just got to be really good at sending that message, which I don't think I'm there yet, right? But that's why you got mentors that.
Yeah, no, I think you're well on your way, but yeah, no, sales is essential. I mean, if you can sell not just the products, but convince people to join you. I mean, if you need a good co-founder, you have to sell them on the idea too, and get them to join you. So if you can have a good sales skills, that definitely goes a long way. Both my parents were in sales, so they have drilled that into me for sure. And yeah, I mean, so we already mentioned, of course, a lot of inefficiencies in the healthcare space. You're trying to automate a lot of that using this new AI tech. But what's your ultimate vision for your startup? Where do you see it going eventually?
Yeah. So there's so many players in the health space that have been developing technology to try and like automate most of the administrative tasks that are going on, right? And so I think most of them will probably share a similar vision to what I'm about to say, which is you want to capture automation that goes from the beginning to the end of one difficult and arduous process within healthcare, right? Whether that is the entirety of the insurance or billing process, whether that's the entirety of the patient life cycle from, appointment booking to them walking out of the office, and all of the different admin things that go in between there. And so for us, that's where our vision is to capture. There's a specific process we have in mind, and we're taking it step by step. We're starting with what we're hearing is the biggest time intensive task, and then we want to continuously build out the rest of that process through automation tools.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and that's where domain knowledge comes in hand. Is if you know where those end-to-end tasks are and what is valuable to the customer, then that goes a long way. But I like what you're saying about the end-to-end task because I mean, if you come in and maybe you have a good data science skill set, you automate something, but it's like 90% of the way there, and it may seem like, oh, you've done a beautiful work on that 90%. But to the user who goes to this 100% of the workflow every day, it's like, well, what's up with this last 10%? How come that's not complete yet? And to them, that's very obvious because they're doing it every day. So yeah, no, I agree. It's good to be very aware of each step in that workflow and make sure that you
Yeah.
have like a fully self-contained product. Because if they have to go out to some other thing, that last 10%, then it's like it's just not as nice and neat and
Why'd I
clean of
even
a
do it?
product.
And I think
Right.
actually most people today are like, no, I'm not even going to touch this if it's not doing the
Yeah.
100% job.
Right.
The expectations for AI are immensely like high, right?
Yeah.
People want it to do the task right on the first try,
Yeah.
right? And so either you got to do insane expectation setting, which is like, difficult in and of
Yeah.
itself, or you just got to automate a very specific portion, like you said, and then go from there.
Yeah, no, it is tough with those expectations. I mean, like I said before, I had a dentist recently, like the other day, who I mean, I showed him a demo of the AI working through. It was just a demo because for HIPAA reasons, it wasn't like a real demo with the real insurance rep. It was just myself, and I don't know. It went through the full workflow of asking the insurance rep all the questions to find out what the patient benefits are, which is the goal for my AI, just to get the patient benefits for the dental patient. And it asked all those questions. But I think, like you said, the expectation for AI is so high that I guess the dentist wanted it to be just, I don't know, like it just exactly like a human being, just asking everything like very snappy, very, very human like, which it wasn't quite there. It asked all the questions, but maybe you can tell it's a robot or whatever. And that kind of gave him cold feet. So it's like, yeah, the expectations really are high, even if it uh does the task, but maybe uh makes the dentist or doctor a bit unsure, then it may scare them off. But I think the key there is just to start off with the early adopters. It's just not all people will want to take that chance, but the people that are more tech forward, they'll be more open minded to trying that out, and then from there you can get it more sure footed, and then if one dentist likes it and they spread it to other dentists, and I think that's the key.
Yeah, no, no, you're absolutely right. And they'll post it in the Facebook groups, right?
Yeah,
And then
you're right.
and
Yeah,
then it'll be, and like it's funny you say that because I'm thinking about that dentist and why does he care whether the insurance provider thinks it's an agent or not, right? Like an AI agent or not. It's not like he's talking to his patients. I'd understand that if it was like appointment scheduling or something else. But even then, like I mean, the latency is almost indistinguishable
it's
from
good. Yeah,
from what a human would do. So
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
Maybe he didn't like the voice
yeah.
on the demo or something. Maybe you just
That
changed the
that
voice.
could be, yeah. Honestly, yeah, it could get down to something as simple as that, just polishing things up. Um, yeah, no, so that's great. Yeah, I mean, and even if they do have some little things that need polishing now. I mean, the rate that things are advancing, I have confidence that in a year from now, certainly 2 years from now, this tech will be it may be probably more efficient than a human talking to the insurance rep. So because you don't need to train each AI each time, like as if you're getting a new employee, it'll already know all the information. Um, in that way, it'll be better than a human being.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so of course, there's a lot of different startups popping up, but there's a lot of opportunity. What do you think will set your startup apart from other startups out there that are in your space?
hmm So actually, my co-founders and I talk about this all the time. It's like there's almost nothing that sets people apart today other than the fact that they have um, quick distribution, right? Like they're just selling quickly. I mean, you can literally have a conversation with GPT and tell it to build a large portion of your tech stack, right? You don't even have to type anymore. You could be like, hey, if you understand software enough, right, you can just enable voice mode and be like, no, do this, now change this and code in this way. And so technology and building technology is just easier than ever. I mean, everybody tells you this, it's the truth. And so it's distribution. How fast are you going to move in the market? And how convincing are you that what you're selling is a valuable pain point? And I'll tell you this because we still get it wrong. We might still be wrong, right? And that's the value proposition. I think that word is mentioned so much with startups of like, oh, you got to talk to customers and get your value prop right. You know how hard that is? It's you either aren't tackling a real pain point, or maybe you are tackling a real pain point, but it's not big enough to scale a business, or you are tackling a real pain point that's scalable, but you're not first to market or even second or third to market. So somebody's already established themselves, and most providers are just wanting to work with them. So there's just so many things that get behind the strategy of building the business, and I think that's way more important today.
Yeah. No, yeah, speed. I completely agree with that. Speed cannot be underestimated. It's throughout history in all sorts of areas. Speed's important. Speed makes a big difference. I know there's a story that or something that I've heard Bill Gates say where he feels that if the one release they made back in whatever year when smartphones were coming about, if they were supposed to do it like a month earlier or something, they did it a month later. He says that that's the reason that they didn't win out in the smartphone market. So he feels that just that even that month difference for one of the largest, biggest tech companies is what made a difference for them having a whole one of the biggest markets now, smartphones, or not having it. So yeah, no, I think a lot of people would agree that speed is essential. Getting there first, there's a lot of advantages there. The network effect, like you said, you start building connections with people, then you become established, and then it's hard to for competitors to compete with that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, back to our North Jersey or New York region here. So what's it been like? Of course, I always say there's a lot of startup stuff going on out in Silicon Valley as always. But what's it been like starting a startup either here in Jersey City or the New York area? How's that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, the New York City area is just the most beneficial place to be on earth. And I mean, I think that there's no other city I would want to live either near or in because you just walk around in the street and the people are there to create. They're there to create a difference. That's why they're in that city. And you are surrounded by everybody's solutions, everybody's problems. Can you hear me?
Sorry, the connection went out there.
No worries.
Do you want to retake that or
Sure. I was
yeah,
saying, so in my opinion, New York City is just the best place to be, right? you are in a city of the people call it a city of dreams. It's the city of dreams, you know. And I think any true entrepreneur is either living in New York City or they're living in Silicon Valley. The difference is I think you get exposure to more diverse groups in New York City than you would in Silicon Valley. And so it's I don't understand why you would think about building a startup anywhere else, right? The sheer amount of organizations, their problems, their solutions, their willingness to innovate, it exists in New York.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely, and yeah, just walking around, you can tell, and there's a great YouTube channel, different industry, but there's a guy, Ari Adholm. He's a DJ, and he just walks around with this big rig, basically a DJ setup, and he's got a backpack on, the whole setup in front of him. It kind of looks a little bit ridiculous, but he goes out and he just talks to random people in the city in New York, and yeah, just has them either rap or sing or something. And there's just so many of them are like just like laying down great songs, like incredible songs, and so it's like you have all these people that you're exposed to, um, just yeah, like you said, walking around on the street, and and that's not just in the arts space, but also in the tech space. And I've seen that firsthand going to a lot of these tech events. There's so many people that are working on interesting things that have a lot of talent. So definitely makes a big difference to be in a hub like this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And what do you think? And we touched on this a bit already, but what do you think specifically about um, the industry that you're heading into makes it very promising? Would you say it's growing a lot, or it's particularly, of course, yeah, the healthcare and especially maybe in the government space or not? Either way, there's a lot of bureaucracy or red tape. Is that the main draw of automating this industry, or is it also growing a lot? You feel like, or what's the main draw to it?
That's a major draw. That's a major
Yeah,
draw. There's, let's look at the numbers too, Brendan. I mean, tech talent is being taken away from big tech. We're talking Google, Microsoft, Facebook, because they're firing people. And if we look at where they're migrating to, a lot of them are going into health. A lot of them are going into more specific domains that usually didn't have technologists embedded within them, but especially health. And so the reason for that is because it's a ripe space for innovation, right? And all of the reasons you mentioned are the ones like that are very clear, but it's also because health is just a massive industry.
yeah, yeah. No, as we get more and more stuff valued for us, I mean, we have plenty of food, we have shelter. I mean, housing is expensive, but as we get those things down, what do you have left to improve health? I mean, that's what people need is they want to be healthy, and with COVID, there's a lot of people with long COVID symptoms, and just other health issues. We have a big nutrition problem in the U.S., so it's kind of it's a big problem to solve, and it's kind of the most important one too.
Yeah.
And so yeah, speaking of challenges like nutrition and that kind of stuff. What are some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your startup journey so far? Of course, starting a company, it's full of them. They never end. But yeah, what would you say are some of the biggest that you've overcome?
Externally, I say it's customers and understanding it's finding them, understanding them,
Yeah,
communicating with them, expectation set, everything that comes with it, right? Of establishing a business that is profitable. The reason why investors invest is because they know you've mastered the art of talking to your customer and understanding them. I think that's how you can convince an investor. Internally, I'd say it's the anxiety of being an entrepreneur, right? I mean, you you are trying to do something that is completely different than how your brain was wired and trained as you kind of were raised. Some people were lucky enough that their parents maybe were sales guys or their parents were entrepreneurs, startup founders, and then I don't think they'll struggle with this one as much. But you're talking about somebody who's come from poverty in the United States, right? So I'm talking about myself, and that system exposes you to jobs as wealth, right? Like that is the one way to get about it. And so you're in this battle with your mindset every day of is this something that truly makes sense for where I want to go in life and like what I want to achieve, right? And the answer is a resounding yes, always. It's just the amount of times you have to tell that to yourself is a lot more than you think.
Yeah. No, I think that's like a big that's an incredible challenge. I mean, if you don't the difference that it makes to have someone that you're growing up with that's done some of this stuff before is a difference between many times doing it or not at all. So yeah, how did you was it through the military that you picked up on this thread of like getting into data science of starting a company? Is that where you picked it up or
Yeah, I think you mentioned it, right? The people around you. I
yeah,
find that I was blessed and fortunate to be around some of the hardest working Americans, and a lot of them was because
yeah,
of the military. I met them in the military, right? And I think the Air Force Academy as an institution attracts some of the top disciplined and hardworking individuals, and that's where I found my co-founders, and so I do think that undoubtedly that is the number one reason why my mindset has been shaped in the way it has.
yeah. Yeah, no, I've often found that the best thing you can do is to put yourself in a good environment that's going to be conducive to what achieving whatever you're trying to achieve, instead of just trying to be disciplined in a bad environment because it's just never going to work as well, and it's going to take so much energy out of you. It'll be easy. You won't even have to think about it if you're in a good environment. It'll just happen because that'll be the natural. Everyone around you will be doing the same thing, and you'll just fall into that. But if everyone around you is doing something different and you're trying to go against that grain, it'll be so much. Yeah, you'll improve your willpower, but it'll drain your willpower too. So it's tough to do it that way.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and yeah. Last question here. I mean, what would you say are some what's the most valuable insight or insights that you've had so far in your startup journey that might benefit someone listening or someone interested in
Mm.
starting a startup?
Yeah, I want to say something that somebody could take and actually do something with it. So
Yeah,
I'll say a very simple one a very simple one that I know has changed my day to day, and that's creating a calendar, a schedule, like go on your Google Calendar and put in every single minute of your day. When you're going to sleep, when you're going to read, when you're going to go to the gym. Hopefully you're not putting any time there to like scroll on TikTok or anything, because I do think that that probably shouldn't be on your calendar. But
yeah,
the reason why I like that is because here's something I find myself doing constantly is I look back at my weeks, and I feel this sense of like pride that that this was what my calendar looked like. And I also realized that I stuck to the priorities I said I was going to, right? I spent, 30x hours at the gym, five whatever hours doing this task on week 2 or week 3. And so I would say that that's the biggest insight is like own yourself, own your calendar and your time. And from there you can at least figure out what you need to be doing to make sure the business is operating right.
yeah. No, I completely agree with that, and I should take some I should have some takeaways from that lesson as well because I mean yeah, what I've heard a good expression what gets measured gets improved, and if you're measuring your schedule
I like that.
and you're because and the reason that is because once you're aware of something like so you measure your schedule, you see, oh, I'm spending like 3 hours a day on TikTok. Like it becomes so clear to you that what how you're wasting your time, and then so it's hard to even ignore because you put it into a metric, you measured it there, you see how bad it is, that you'll just automatically start to reduce that time. So yeah, measuring your day to day schedule, what can be more important to measure to see if you're putting your time into the right places, into the right things.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think I heard something said the only thing stopping you from having a good schedule is you not wanting to put in the 20 minutes to have a good schedule, right?
Yeah,
Because the
yeah,
the moment you actually sit down and you're like, I'm gonna do this, you're like, oh wow, this is addicting to know what I do day to day. That's addicting. Like I can't tell you what I ate
yeah,
yesterday. Now I can because I write it all down. And it's what why wouldn't you want to write down your own history, right? So that you could look back at it.
yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, a lot of the great people throughout history, they wrote some kind of journal where they kept track of things, and so that makes a big difference to for something to remember yourself by, and what you've done by, but also just a way to organize yourself to see what it is that you're doing, and you can improve yourself through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Youssef, it's been a pleasure to have you on here. It's been great to see, your perspective going to the military, learning a lot. I can tell that scheduling it seems inspired by the military, possibly. So it's great to see that perspective. Then breaking into the health space, and I'm sure you'll make a lot of great improvements to the inefficiencies there, and we'll have a hopefully great healthcare in the next 10, 20 years with AI improving a lot of things. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's an exciting time to be alive. Brendan, thank you for the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.